Summers, and welcome to Boomer Bob's Tax Cafe and Coffee Bar, where we drink lattes and we talk about tax. Today we're going to talk about the taxation of fractional workers. I wrote a book called Tax Traps Facing Fractional Workers, and we're going to discuss some of the concepts in the book. If you're in this ecosystem, you really do need to buy this book. It's got a detailed tax analysis with citations to case law, to the federal tax codes, the Internal Revenue Service rulings and pronouncements. It's only $9.95, and it can save you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of potential taxes, penalties, and interest, as well as losses of valuable business deductions. So let's get into it. What is a fractional worker? Well, basically, a fractional worker is a high-level executive that works less than full-time for a company. It's usually a startup who cannot afford a full-time CEO. So they use a fractional worker CEO, someone who's very qualified and skilled, but is only working part-time and may work for 2 or 3 other companies. Again, it's usually a very high-level person, CEO, Chief Executive Officer, CFO, Chief Financial Officer, anything with the name chief in it, or anybody doing the work of an officer in a company. Okay, it's a high-level exec. That's what they are. They function just like their counterparts in other companies, except they're working less than full-time. The issue is, are these people employees of the company or are they independent contractors? Now, every website out there that deals with fractional workers that I've reviewed and saw all say they're independent contractors without any basis in law or fact. They just say, hey, you're an independent contractor. That's it. However, these websites are wrong. In order to determine the correct classification of a worker, you need to run through what I call the 3-step gauntlet. That is the person a statutory employee under the Internal Revenue Code? Under state law, if we apply the ABC tests that are applied in a lot of states, including California and Massachusetts, but other states as well, do they pass what's called the ABC test? And we'll get into that. And if they pass both of those, do they meet the federal common law tests for employee versus independent contractor? Are they treated as an independent contractor under those? So those are 3 separate tests. So getting into it, I have a spoiler alert. The courts and the IRS are not sympathetic to the argument that a corporate executive would in any way, shape, or form be an independent contractor. But let's run through the 3-step gauntlet. Step 1, a potential tax trap that really nobody on the web is talking about, is this. Corporate officers are employees, period. There is no debate about this. There just isn't. Under Internal Revenue Code section 3121D1, it says right in there, corporate officers are employees. This code section was added because Congress got upset that corporate officers were trying to avoid paying Social Security taxes by claiming they were getting dividends or they weren't really working for the company as an employee. So they put right in the code, you're an employee. So anyone who tells you different just doesn't understand what they're talking about. Okay, that's set in stone. What if you're not a corporate officer? Okay, you're just a highly skilled worker, but you're not a corporate, you're an exec, but not a corporate officer. All right. Then you go to what I call the ABC tests. They're state law tests. And California is the leading jurisdiction on this. And basically, here are the 3 tests. The worker has to be free from the control and direction of the hiring entity, which is harder to do than say. The killer one is number B, where the worker performs work outside the usual course of the hiring entity's business. Well, invariably, any senior employee is going to not be outside the usual course of the business. That is the business. So you're going to fail that one. And then thirdly, the step C is the worker is customarily engaged in an independent, established trade, occupation, or business. No, they're not. The established customary business is being an employee of the company, being a senior executive officer. There's no customary independent occupation of being a fractional worker. So you're going to lose on that one as well. So if you're in a jurisdiction that uses the ABC test, you're an employee. Okay, let's say for some reason you're not in a jurisdiction that uses those tests, or you don't meet those criteria. The third test is the federal common law test. And there's a series of tests, but some are more important than others. And many of the ones that are not that important in this context, you can meet as an independent contractor. You provide your own tools, you set your own times, some stuff like that. However, the two key elements in the federal common law set of tests is the permanency of the relationship. Is it indefinite or is it a specific project? And these fractional worker deals are usually indefinite, meaning they don't have a specific project. You're acting as a high-level executive, you're acting as an officer, you're integrated to the company, it's just less than full-time, but you're doing the same functions as any other senior level executive in another company would be doing. So there's that one, and the other one is the work performed, is it a key aspect of the business? And that one, almost any key executive is going to fail because, of course, it's a key aspect of the business, whatever you're doing, because you're at a high level. You're not replaceable. You've got somebody who's doing this, who's highly skilled and has a lot of experience. Again, according to all these websites, you're really doing full-time work just at part-time. You're exactly the same as a senior level executive, although you're doing it part-time. That's one of their sales pitches and so forth. So, okay, if you escaped the three-step gauntlet, none of those things apply to you. There is a potential path to treating yourself as an independent contractor. But you need to be an advisor only with no corporate powers or decision-making ability. You can't have the right to make decisions for the corporation. You can't write checks for the corporation. You can't represent yourself as being part of the corporation. And then the other thing is you need to work on a project-by-project basis. It has to be a definitive project you're working in, like installing software or doing some training or things like that. So if you can do those and you have a properly worded contract, and in my book I've got a sample of a contract you can use as a guide along with your attorney, because you need to have an attorney go through and make sure any legal document conforms to the laws of the state that you're working from. Okay? Well, if you have any questions, drop me a line. If this has been helpful, please like this video. Although if you're a fractional worker, you're probably not going to like this video, but I got to give it to you straight. That's what the law is, and you're gambling on hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially if you wrongly classify yourself and the government comes after you. But in any event, please like the video, whether you like the information or not. And please be sure to check out my website for access to other videos, articles, or publications. So until next time, I'm Bob Summers of Boomer Bob's Tax Cafe and Coffee Bar. Looking forward to having you at my next presentation.